How effective is China's intelligence apparatus?
Cutthroat. That's the difference. What we do is really good. What they do is cutthroat. War casualties
They're
are
assassins?
not. Yeah, war casualties are not an issue.
It's a different MO.
Yeah,
it's
it's
a different
just different way they
modus
think.
operandi. Like, we're trying to be clandestine. We try to get in, get out. Nobody knows that we're there. The Chinese are bulls in a china shop. Why is that beneficial to the United States? Because our real threat is 7,000 miles away.
Yep.
And if we don't get a chance to practice a protracted war halfway across the globe, then we're going to get caught with our pants down when China invades Taiwan. Because guess how far away China is from Taiwan? Only 80 miles further than Russia was from Ukraine.
Well, according to one China Danny here, Taiwan's a part of China.
Oh.
That's not one China Danny. That's one China Biden, too, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Sleepy Joe's got a big meeting on Tuesday. This will all go away. Don't worry. Don't fret. He's got it under control.
Isn't China already shooting fucking missiles towards Taiwan?
Absolutely.
They're showing what their capability is.
What happened a few weeks ago, with maybe a month ago now? I think it's been a while, but there was the Communist Party meeting in China, and you had, I forget the fucking guy's
Ju
name.
Jintao.
Yeah, that
Xi
dude.
Jinping, yeah.
He was like this old dude sitting next to Xi Jinping, and then like security came in and like started yanking his ass out of the chair, and Xi's just sitting. That was like the ultimate, like, yeah, sorry fam, like, don't know what's going on. Like, what happened there?
Historians and politicians, historians and political scientists around the world cringe when Julian talks about world international affairs. This fucking old guy sitting there. And
This guy gets ripped up. It's on TikTok. And he turned around.
somewhere there's a...
He puts a new school spin on it.
He does.
Somewhere there
I've
does.
never heard anybody who knows more about the CIA and the FBI and the U.S. government than Julian. I
could
swear to
find a
God.
few.
There's a Harvard professor somewhere sitting there like, I made a career out of studying political science so that this guy could call Ju Jintao some old guy.
Imagine David Satter sitting across from me, 50 years, like Financial Times, like Moscow correspondent. I'm saying shit like this. He's like, oh, yeah, gotcha. But anyway, yeah.
Jim,
What happened there?
Jim, I'm doing a bunch of talk, so if you want to
I'm jumping in, man. I'm listening.
Okay,
I'm learning.
I don't want to stop
I'm
all
listening
over
and
you,
learning. You know me. It's just all about
We
breaking
have to all
collarbones.
figure this out. We've never done four like.
There's
mics
never
before.
been. Has there ever been a podcast with FBI and CIA at the same table?
Right before 9/11. I'm only kidding. It didn't happen. It did not happen. It did not happen. This is good. We're actually setting the mark here.
We're bringing
high water mark right here, boys.
That's gonna get clipped.
one step at a time.
Yeah.
One step at a
My
time.
God, that's gonna be in documentaries 10
boy.
years from now.
Yeah, it is.
Well,
Lord.
But no, in all honesty, I do think this is a pretty cool pairing.
It's really cool.
This is something that probably, honestly, it could probably never happen if we were active CIA, active DOD, or active FBI, because there would be so much bureaucracy to get through. Somebody would say no, it would be too high risk. The editing would be outrageous. The ownership rights would be outrageous.
I mean, publicly, you guys aren't active, but privately.
Yeah, according to the comments,
Yeah.
you guys are both still
guys are
active.
both-
Did you get a
Cool.
description of the old guy that get ripped out of the chair? That might have been me. No, I'm gonna kid.
No, he was Asian.
Who was the guy that got?
Definitely a
Who was the
Chinese
guy that
guy.
got ripped out of the chair?
So his name was Ju Jintao. So
Can we find that?
what you saw.
see the
You
video.
speak Chinese too, so you were definitely listening. To
My
that.
Chinese is rusty. If you can imagine, like cobwebs in an attic kind of thing. That's what my Chinese.
You haven't been
looks like.
keeping up.
How
with
long
it?
did it take you to learn Chinese?
Technically, it took me 4 years.
Isn't it called Mandarin?
To speak at a 5th grade level.
Okay.
So yeah, the military taught me for a long time, and it never got very good.
Where were you, Monterey?
No, I was actually at the Air Force Academy. Yeah,
All right.
Monterey's the best language. I asked for Monterey, but that's out of budget.
Yeah.
No, so what you saw with it's called the Party Congress. You saw I think it was the 20th Party Congress. It's the Party Congress that happens, or maybe in the 50th, but it happens every 2 years, every 10 years, something
Yeah,
like
do we
that.
have the video? We should pull up the video too.
There's so much video, it's going to be hard to find a
The
good one.
Jerusalem Post.
Yeah, very reliable source right there.
Is it?
No, not even close. It might as well just be called "Israel's always right, the world is always
Yes.
wrong" post.
Wow.
Yes.
But
This is how it happened. The rest of you are stupid.
yeah.
See you at the club.
See, but yeah, what you're seeing happen between China right now and the West, right? Let's just collectively call it the West. Is Xi Jinping is correctly realizing that this is a time to demonstrate unity and power in the East because the West is struggling under democracy, right? You've got NATO arguing with each other's members. You've got Hungary, a NATO partner altogether, actively trying to propose that Russia should be left alone, right? Like you've got internal conflict in NATO. You have the disaster of what our midterm elections just turned into, right? Basically
How so?
Another
Gridlock?
a gridlock, continued gridlock with transfer of power looking like it's most likely going to go to the Republicans in Congress, which means the purse strings of the government are going to get tied down. So, blue Senate, blue executive, a red Congress, that just means money's getting tight.
Yep.
It doesn't mean that we're going to start getting along. If anything, it means
we're as divided as we've ever been.
Yeah.
And these elections are showing that. It's right down the middle. So it doesn't matter.
So what Xi Jinping wants to do is he knows that the win for China and the win for Chinese influence around the world is to show that China can get stuff done, where the West can't even figure out their own backyard.
But why is he taking a senior citizen out of like the nursing home?
Because
Play the video?
Hu Jintao is the only other person that carries anywhere near as much influence as Xi Jinping.
He doesn't look like he knows what he ate for lunch today.
Yeah. No. Don't mistake the way that an old man looks.
Yeah,
he sat in Xi's seat before Xi sat there.
Look at this.
Look at G's face.
Look
That
at
is
this.
the ultimate. Like, throw some sunglasses on him with a cigarette and say, "Not in here, bitch." He's like, "Oh yeah."
So this is also important because if you watch,
Oh, is he trying to resist?
So if you get he's not resisting. He's just an old guy. He's asking questions. You see him keep reaching for that sheet of paper.
Yep.
Watch,
He's trying to ask. Listen up, Julian. He's trying to ask questions about why changes were made to the panel without his approval. And now, as he's being marched out, watch how nobody looks at him. Nobody looks at him because they realize this is a move that Xi is making. So they're not looking. No eye contact. No eye contact.
Yep.
These are all people that have worked under Hu Jintao.
Wow.
And they're all essentially demonstrating their deferral to Xi Jinping. This is a clear message to the world that Xi Jinping is the consolidated source of power in China and that they are unified behind Xi Jinping.
So what happened to him?
Yeah.
We don't know.
We don't know.
What is
Probably
his-
nothing. I mean, the dude is a legend in China. He's probably living in some nice pagoda up in the mountains,
Oh,
just
that's nice.
being left alone.
All right, he got a
Right?
nice retirement package.
They gave him Pebble Beach.
He's too big to too big to just be disappeared. Too important to be disappeared.
But could you imagine that ever happening here?
No.
Imagine somebody walking Sleepy Joe out. He'd
No.
go the wrong way. But
Oh my gosh. So that guy's equivalent to like what? He's equivalent to
The
like
Xi Jinping before Xi.
Yeah, he was
No.
when Bush was around and Obama first
shit.
came.
Yep.
Yeah, he's the guy that essentially modernized China, brought China into the fold of world superpowers.
Why do you talk about, and I think some of it's obvious to people listening, but I just want to hear you express it. Like when you're always going right to China as the main adversary here, and you, to quote you on the Patrick Bet David podcast, you said you were stationed in Asia. You're not allowed to say where, but what languages do you speak again?
Thai, Chinese, and Japanese.
Okay, so you said you do the math, right? So obviously this is a topic you know something about. Like what makes them the ultimate threat and like what's your worst case scenario with our relations with China over the next 10 years?
I look here's what when I think about, and this has been going on forever, as long as I've been serving, it's been the same deal. And the fact of the matter is the Bureau has really not geared up on the side of foreign counterintelligence on that side of the house. They've worried about other things that are here in our backyard in their mind, what they can see, the drugs, the murder, the organized crime. In the meantime, they're just destroying every part of what we do and how we do it. And what I always look at is look at the focus on the face of 18 and 19-year-old Chinese Communist Party soldiers. Look at that. Look at the ferocity that comes with that. Look at our kids. Look at our generation.
Our military
Yeah, it
recruitment
kind of-
crisis right now.
Exactly. We actually lowered our standard by 10,000 and missed the quota by 15,000.
We're not even getting new soldiers into our military.
We
right
can't do it. We can't find, and what they say is, well, we don't really want the kid with, some type of indictment or some type of misdemeanor because you just don't know. Listen, we have no choice. Like I said, lowered it by 10,000, missed it by 15. This has never happened, ever in the history of the military. So what do we do now? So then you got people talking about, well, we should have, a 2-week service after high school, and then you go, Come on, are you fucking crazy? Parents will be, that'll be the most corrupt program in the history of the United States, as parents are buying their kids' way out of it. So it starts there. It starts with the commitment to country and cause. And so whatever's done there, and obviously we can only imagine what's done in order to keep that in place. And it's a high drive. The culture is a high drive culture. Want to succeed, want to do more, want to come to the States, study at our Ivy League universities, do the things that they do. And it just carries over into, I would love to know what that guy was trying to put forward. What was he asking?
Yeah.
We'll never find that out.
It's true.
Right.
The reason that you see me jump right to China is because of three main things, right? First, we spent 20 years, just like Jim was saying, we spent 20 years fighting a global war on terrorism. Guess who wasn't involved in the global war on terrorism? China. So that means all of our money, all of our effort, all of our attention was fighting a transnational threat that China wasn't spending any time or any money on.
And they were building.
They were building and they were perfecting how they could penetrate the West because the West was distracted.
And how are they doing that?
Now let's move on to point number 2.
And watching our mistakes by them, watching what we did wrong.
Whenever you go down into a mine, right? Back in the day, miners used to take, what was it, a parrot? A parakeet?
Canary.
A canary.
Yep.
They used to take a canary down into a mine, right? And the reason, and it was because the canary, when the canary bit the dust, that's how they would know that there wasn't enough oxygen to keep the miners alive so they could get out. Our canary is Australia. Australia knows that. They've been our canary for a long time. So guess what happened about 4 years ago? Australia realized that Chinese were sending Chinese students, Chinese professors, Chinese mining experts into Australia specifically to undermine Australian politics, Australian student mindset and ideology.
Mission accomplished.
And guess who Australia's most important export-import partner is? China. And they were so upset. The Australians, God love them because they're just a fearless bunch of savages sometimes. They were like, we caught you, China. We're going to let the whole world know we caught you, and we're going to penalize you. Even though they know that penalizing China means penalizing themselves, right? So Australia's been in this battle with the Chinese for like the last 5 years.
But why were they the most totalitarian in the lens of what China was trying to do with when the pandemic just kept going on and on?
You're distracted. That's an offshoot that's not relevant to your first question.
Okay.
Right? So we have our canary. So my 3 points, right? First, they didn't participate in the global war on terror. So they were mastering their future plan because they had a 50-year plan, right? Then we have our canary go off in Australia. And now the third point, they are poised to become the world's economic superpower by 2032. Economics is what drives everything in human existence. Right? The more money you make, the more money you can spend developing weapons, the more military you can build, the more everybody else wants to be your friend because you have the most money. What made the United States the superpower that we are? Economics. Our economics are starting to fall behind Chinese economics. China knows that. So they're very focused on becoming the world's economic superpower. And once they're the economic superpower, then it's very, very hard for us to catch up after that, which is why you see the race kicking up now. Trump kind of called attention to it, but the world hated Trump, so the world was kind of not open to his point of view.
Exactly.
But one of the only policies that carried on from the Trump administration into the Biden administration were the China policies.
Yes, I'm seeing that a lot.
So those are my 3 points. Sorry to cut you off.
No, that was
that's
perfect.
outstanding. I mean, that's outstanding. And you think about, they're all in as well. We have offices near every major university. We at least have one person that sits that's an experienced counterintelligence person, as experienced as the Bureau can be. And they sit outside these universities and they recruit assets within to find out what the deal is, whether or not they're actually like a proactive asset, somebody that's trying to do things to harm US, or whether they're just gathering information. And if you go to any major financial institution and or investment bank in the city, you will find interns within that organization who are being recalled back to China in order to report, and we're allowing it to happen. We are kind of nervous about whether or not we should hire or fire or get rid of or even do background checks on these people, where they're coming from, what they're doing, what their incentive is, what their orders are, why they're going back, working for 6 weeks at a major New York corporation that's moving and shaking, and then heading back for 6 weeks and then coming back to the States.
Do you know? So Chinese students make up the largest contingent of foreign students going to American law schools.
Yep.
1 out of every 3 of those graduates goes back to China.
Why? Is it because they want to learn how to use our laws against us?
We don't know what they do when they go back to China, but what we do know is that China knows how. China's strategy, if you look at what they did in Hong Kong, if you look at how they've handled the Bahamas, if you look at how they handled the Central America, it certainly suggests.
What they do in the Bahamas?
They
The
own,
FTX?
They own the Bahamas, right?
yeah.
FTX.
Hold on. Where were you guys
bro.
on Monday?
Where
where
is
were
that?
both of you on
Oh
Monday?
my God.
Where is that money?
That is
Yeah, it's in
fucking
your
crazy.
bank
Best.
account, Jim.
At least he got dressed for his interview. Oh, wait a minute, never mind.
Yo, what is the story with
Sorry,
the
I
kid?
digress.
Are you aware of the kid? What's the story with the kid?
Sammy Bankman Fine?
Yes,
Oh,
the
dude.
kid who got found drowned
name?
off
What's
the
his
coast
name?
of Puerto Rico.
Whoa,
Sam
no, wait a
Bankman?
minute. Talk to me.
Yeah, I gotta send you the
What's
I gotta send you the article.
I know it's
Julian sent me
it's-
the article to it, but there was a kid who posted on Twitter.
All right,
he
so-
said if you find you tell the
The
story.
founder of MakerDAO you're talking about,
Yes,
right?
yes. The
So
kid
you're
the
saying-
kid who says if I show up dead, I did not commit suicide, and then
so
he
you're
showed up
saying
drowned.
That
Oh,
could be
boy.
connected. Yeah, so he sent out a tweet. This guy Nikolai something.
I'm
or
gonna
other,
text it to you.
and
Michael.
he was one of the co-founders of MakerDAO. He sends out a tweet on October 28th that says something to the effect of, I don't have it in front of me, but it's like, I'm down in the Caribbean. My girlfriend turned out to be a spy. I am not going to kill myself, but if I died, there's an Israeli-U.S. pedo ring or something going on. It sounded a little crazy going on down here. And then naturally people ran right with Epstein because that was obviously something that happened. And so 2 weeks later, you have, it's just weird that FTX and it's SBF, but what's the guy's name? Sam Bankman.
texted you. He's right up here.
Freed.
Yeah, Sam Bankman-Fried. I was saying it wrong, but Sam Bankman-Fried, the CEO of FTX, that whole exchange crashes, and he's in the Caribbean, in the Bahamas, and people are just like right away like, oh, it could absolutely have nothing to do with it, but 2 crypto guys, because by the way, the dude who sent out that tweet found drowned 2 weeks later, or 2 days later. So actually died, and now this all crashes, and every single cryptocurrency, like, realm of the industry was tied in some way
So
to FTX.
So
Wow.
Jim, they don't want to hear my comments. On
No,
this.
I want to hear it.
I wanna hear
Also,
your
we got to
comment.
get back to the Bahamas.
Do we need
I'm
a tinfoil
interested in
hat
that
for this?
on the Chinese
Oh,
side?
yeah,
I
yeah,
want to
yeah.
know that.
Yeah. No, you need to take off your tinfoil hat if you're going to listen to me.
Yeah, exactly.
And friggin' Julian's got a beautiful tinfoil hat sometimes.
He does. I envy it.
Wear it.
Did you get the article, Michael?
Trying to. Hold on.
Okay.
So essentially, let's start with FTX because I think this is
Okay.
super important, right? So if you take FTX by itself, right? What was FTX for anybody who isn't super into crypto? FTX was arguably the second largest foreign exchange exchange or currency, cryptocurrency open market exchange place available to anybody in cryptocurrency, right? The first largest is a place called Binance. The second largest was FTX, right? Or was Sam Bankman-Fried's company.
Who had Binance? Who was that?
Let's get to
I
that.
heard that
All
guy's
right.
Let's
shady.
get to that in
Yeah.
a
I
second.
heard the
CZ.
Binance guy's really shady.
Let's get
Yeah.
to that in a
It's
second.
easy.
So Binance made a play to buy FTX, right? That was the play. Everything rallied. Everybody's happy. Now, what kind of market have we been in for the last 9 months? Down market. 6 months, down market, right? What have cryptocurrencies done for the last 6 months? Crashed and decreased in value, right? And what's FTX looking for? Looking for a way to subsidize the fact that they've lost a shit ton of money. Because when they lose money, what that means is people are taking their cryptocurrency out and exchanging it for fiat currency. So if you remember It's a Wonderful Life, if you guys remember that
The
old
movie. Yeah.
Great movie.
Yeah. Do you remember the run on the bank?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's exactly what happened in cryptocurrency.
Yes.
People saw their assets were decreasing in value, so they made a run on the bank and they started taking their money out.
And it
Well,
wasn't there.
It wasn't there. Exactly right. When Binance found out it wasn't there, then they pulled out.
Do you know what they did before that, though?
So now what you've got is essentially FTX standing by itself, over leveraged, under resourced in a crash, right? Now, so that's how the whole crash happened. It has nothing to do with the Bahamas, has nothing to do with anything else.
Do you know about before, though?
But
What Binance did before?
go ahead.
You didn't say it.
Go.
This is important context.
Yeah, yeah.
Binance announced, I guess like 8 or 9 days ago, that they were selling their 2.1 billion or something reserves of FTT, which is the token of FTX. And they didn't say why, but they said, we'd like to be responsible for the
Correct.
market and do it in an orderly manner. And that's what that was the main driver to cause people to withdraw it. So then they were looking to buy it, and then they're like, oh no, your balance sheet's fucked. It's sketchy. It's very sketchy.
I'm not saying it's not sketchy. Now let's go back to the question that Jim asked. Who owns Binance? Anybody care to guess?
CZ?
No, I'm gonna guess that's not the answer.
No, it's a Chinese organization. And let me ask you this question. Is cryptocurrency legal in China?
No.
It was outlawed 2 months ago.
Wait, I thought mining was.
Mining's still alive and well. They have no problem using Chinese servers to mine it and then sell it to the United States. But there is no cryptocurrency allowed inside China until China creates their own state
CBDC.
controlled, right?
That's amazing.
So basically, if you want, let me put on my tin hat now. You basically have a Chinese firm, knowing that they can mess with the market and have zero impact on their own people, make a large reinvestment of currency into the market. What happens when you flood a market with currency? You decrease the value of that currency. So they cause a flood, they decrease the value, and then they make 2 public announcements that basically bring into question FTX, their only competitor and the second largest crypto company out there. Yeah. Were they looking to crash it? Probably not. They were probably just looking to cause pain the same week as a midterm, on the verge of whether or not we were going to be going into a recession. They were probably just looking to cause pain at all. But this was in excess of the pain they were looking to create. And now what we essentially have is the largest cryptocurrency exchange in the world is controlled by the Chinese, which is the only country in the world that doesn't use crypto.
What's your average age of the crypto investor? What generation is that?
That's
your generation?
21 maybe?
Right?
All right,
in the 20s.
I guess.
So
20s.
who are the folks that control these midterms? What voter? What group? 20 to 29s?
Well,
Nice
these
jo- nice-
midterms
I
we
have
saw.
no
Nice
idea.
job. Nice job, Chinese.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying.
it's a big economic war. Do I see every ghost as the Chinese? No, I don't see every ghost as the Chinese. But when it comes to
I think
economics,
we should look at it though.
When it comes to
we should look
economics-
at if they're the folks.
yeah, when it comes to economics,
Oh man.
they're savvy. They're super savvy. And it's really interesting that they're so savvy because in their system, economics works completely differently.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have 1 out of every 3 lawyers studying U.S. law going back to China, they've all got gainful employment when they get there.
How effective is China's intelligence apparatus? I mean, I assume it's very effective, but like relative to the CIA, relative to the FSB, Mossad, like how do you view what China's capable of and how they go about doing the job?
Cutthroat. That's the difference. What we do is really good. What they do is cutthroat. They have no problem. They have war casualties.
They're assassins.
War casualties is not an issue.
It's a different MO.
Yeah,
It's a
it's just different way they
modus
think.
operandi. Yeah, like we're trying to be clandestine.
Yes.
We try to get in, get out. Nobody knows that we're there.
Yep. It's important.
The Chinese are bulls in a china shop.
How are
They want to come in, break everything, and leave a calling card. Because then guess what? Then we talk about it, right? They left a calling card when they hacked into the Office of Personal Management System with the DoD. They stole like 60% of the records in OPM.
By the way, my ex is trying to get a settlement. I mean, I'm like, whatever.
And then they told the
we'll leave
whole.
it.
And then they told the whole
I'm over
world.
that.
And then they told the whole world we did it, right? And then the whole world was like, "Oh shit! The Chinese can hack into the American like military personnel system." That's how they do it. It's the exact opposite of what Russia does. It's a totally different MO. They don't need to be clandestine because they basically have a culture where every Chinese person who affiliates with the mainland in any way, no matter where they are in the world, aligns as a mainlander first, right? They're a Chinese something, Chinese American, Chinese French, Chinese whatever, but they're Chinese first.
What is their ultimate goal?
Economic superiority.
I think just to
It's
be
like
the number
19 to
one.
12 right now. So you think by 2032
It's not me. That's economics.
they've passed that?
Yeah,
GDP,
that's,
I'm talking.
Yeah, if you just look at the numbers that are out there posted by Harvard Business Review, by Brookings Institute, they're predicted to be the economic superpower by 2032.
Well, Apple's trying to take their slave trade out of China and put it in Vietnam now.
trying.
They're trying. Are more companies going to do that? Because obviously that's the one thing about COVID I don't understand, because they've basically with China, I'm talking about going so hard on COVID, they shocked the system and forced multinationals around the world, not just in the US, to have to evaluate their supply chains within China and adjust to other places, which is literally the opposite of what China should want. No?
China knows that they're always going to have. We're calculating time like Americans. Americans look at time as like 2 years is a long time.
No, you're right.
Right? Even in our government, I think in our government, the longest approved budget is 5 years.
That's right.
Is that right? Is there a longer
That's
budget
exactly
than that?
right. And then you have the contingency, the holdover that goes on for maybe 6 months before it's renewed.
In
Think
China,
about that.
like one man can basically write a line item that lasts 35 years.
That's
Isn't-
probably what happened.
Isn't
And
that a
deal
big problem that
probably
presidents only
getting
last
shut
4
down.
years here?
Technically, presidents only last 2 years here because then they
Because they're
spend 2 years
Right, exactly.
running for re-election.
Either running or in second term, lame duck.
Yeah.
You know,
They're not
figuring
paying
out-
attention.
No, they have nothing. Yeah, not paying attention.
How much power do you think the president has these days?
I think the president, in large part, has mixed power, right? There's the executive order power, because what's happened for like 20 years is Congress has been letting the president make whatever decisions they want to make. We saw Obama create the most executive orders in history until Trump came around, until Biden came around.
Mm-hmm.
Like we are now to a place where we are basically policying through executive orders, because nobody else, unless you own the Senate and the House, it's impossible
That's
to get
exactly
anything through.
right.
So the president has been getting a lot of power, but the power has always lied with the Congress. It's just when Congress outsources their power to the executive branch, then they get to claim that it's not their fault when they run for re-election, which they have to do every 2 years.
So what is this story? This is the guy. This is the kid who drowned, right? What exactly did he say? This
Nikolai Mashigin.
Balancer Labs.
Okay, has drowned in Puerto Rico. Local media say he's the developer of MakerDAO. Scroll down. Keep going. Keep going past this. Keep
Died
going.
as a result of drowning.
So
There's
go to
the
his tweet.
There it
There's
is.
his tweet.
Yep.
CIA and Mossad and pedo elite are running some kind of sex trafficking entrapment blackmail ring out of Puerto Rico and the Caribbean islands. They are going to frame me with a laptop planted by my ex-girlfriend who was a spy. They will torture me to death.
I mean, I think this is pretty tied up nice in a little bow. Jim, there's no way to question this.
Well,
Except
it happened on Twitter. He's probably verified.
He was not.
No,
verified.
this was before. He drowned before, unfortunately.
before he could get Twitter blue.
Yeah.
Elon hadn't
I
released
just
it
don't
yet.
see how that could possibly happen, without him actually doing it.
Yeah.
But
Drowning's
tor-
a hell of a way to go.
Well,
You know what the Bahamas is, right?
What, the
It's the-
Bahama
I want to
Triangle?
get back.
It's
No,
a
it's a
series.
Bermuda
It's a
Triangle.
series of islands. What do you think the most common way of dying in the Bahamas probably is? It's not going to be like getting shot by a gang member.
Do you think a
STDs.
guy who's
Probably
inventing... Do you think a guy who's
Drowning.
inventing
At
crypto on
Atlantis.
the computer every day is out there
At
going
Bourne.
for a fucking swim?
no,
2
this
days
guy's
after
not going in
sending
the
that?
water.
Come on.
I'm thinking a guy who's inventing crypto every day probably got drunk one day, got caught in a riptide, and didn't have what it took to swim back
How
to shore.
perfectly but
2
tied
weeks after
together.
he posted this
2
tweet.
days.
2 days?
I think 2 weeks. You guys.
2 days.
So you guys have
It's 2
said 2
days.
weeks and 2 days.
No, October 28th is the tweet. He was dead by Halloween.
You sure he wasn't dressed as somebody else? It's Halloween.
Or did he just? Or was it like a? Was he trying to get attention to commit suicide or something? And just
I
trying
mean,
to
you're
fucking
the same,
Yeah.
Andy. You're the same guy who said,
Yeah,
this is
right.
back in the day.
Or
You're
was
the
he
same
going-
guy who said on a
going to
Reddit
do it?
feed
Right.
And then
when you were doing
put
an
this out?
AMA, one of the
Because he was
questions
gonna do
was,
Right.
what does the CIA, and they may have said, and other intelligence organizations do that crosses the line of morals? Like, are they into, whether it be like sex trafficking or having to do things that are totally insane to be able to get intelligence? And you answered it very, very honestly, incredibly honestly. You said something to the effect of, there are things that make me lose sleep at night that we do that I'd rather not talk about in a Reddit forum here, which is not no.
Right. It's not no. If you look at this, this has so many red flags in it that make me just.
It does. You're right.
So we've got to take that for what it is. Like, did the
Okay.
guy die 2 days later? Yes.
Yeah.
Is that correlation or is that causation? We don't really know. Right.
Right.
You tell me that a potentially unfit guy drowns in the Bahamas. Okay, that's unfortunate. And then you show me a tweet that says CIA and Mossad and pedo elite.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Some kind of
That's-
sex trafficking.
But then it gets even
entrapment,
better.
blackmail
It's a
ring.
blackmail entrapment ring out of Puerto Rico.
So
and
unpredicated.
oh, by the way, I will be framed by my ex-girlfriend using my laptop because she's a spy.
Okay, but
you know how many perfect things have to line up for this to be true? Where's the laptop? Has anybody interviewed the girlfriend?
we'll scroll
We've
down.
asked that question
Scroll
before.
down.
It's actually with Hunter.
Where's
It's with
the
Hunter
laptop?
Biden's. Exactly.
Scroll
With
down.
Hunter's.
So yeah, this has got me not suspicious.
Yeah, but
of
how do you-
CIA, But this has got was the dude knocked off by some organized criminal for some other reason? Who knows?
Right.
This one here.
Okay.
Oh, this is just dark theme.
All right.
They will torture me to death.
Yep.
What day was this? The
That
same
was
day?
the 28th.
The
Yeah.
28th.
It's the same tweet.
That was the same
So
tweet.
he.
I missed the torture me to death.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, admittedly, when I hear the words like
Alright,
CIA,
what's this
Mossad,
say?
and pedo
Sunday
elite,
night.
it seems like a lot to me.
3 possible futures
It
for
does.
me. 1, suicided by the CIA. 2, CIA brain damaged slave asset. 3, worst nightmare of people who fucked with me up until now. I am sure these are
That's
the only
it.
options.
I mean, that's a tough 3.
You guys would say I could
That
see
is
I
a
could see you
tough
guys
three.
taking a trip down memory
Yeah.
lane reading
Yeah.
this one. You're like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Suicided by CIA. That's 1. I don't like that. CIA brain damage, slave asset. Okay, so I really don't know what happened.
I mean, a brain damaged slave asset's super useful.
It's
though.
really good.
But have we done all right in
Could be-
a,
I don't
in a
wanna
serious manner? And I don't see my issue with people online who complain about everything just to do it, like the Twitterati.
I can tell you exactly why CIA wouldn't kill this guy.
Not
Because
even,
of
no.
this conversation. That
Not-
is exactly why they wouldn't touch this guy.
And then this reverse psychology person would say, and that's exactly why they would.
Yeah, and
'Cause
the
then
reverse
they're talking
psychology-
about it and
the-
no one believes
Yeah.
it.
And the reverse psychology person would never
Right.
have actual insight into what happens at CIA because they specialize in reverse psychology.
But the people who are online who just complain about the CIA all day and say like defund the CIA, defund the FBI and shit, like I think that's insane because you have to have this stuff. You're a powerful country. People out there want this country dead, right? Like there's enemies in the world, whether you like it or not, that's what it is. But it doesn't mean that like a guy like me who knows that also wouldn't know or not know, also wouldn't be able to speculate that perhaps things in this realm happen. And by the way, if given the context, not that I would ever deserve it because I'm some private guy in a fucking armchair, but if given the context, I'd say, wow, that really sucks, but I get it.
Life without CIA or FBI is like life without food and water.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I would assign CIA is going without CIA is like going without food.
Mhm.
You're going to last a while. It's just not going to be pretty.
Mm.
Going without FBI,
Yeah,
that's
good
like
luck.
going without water. You know
Mm.
what this country would turn into in about 3 days without the Federal Bureau of Investigation doing what it does? I mean,
Well,
you correct me if I'm wrong, man.
I
but
think you're absolutely right. My issue is just the leadership at the top at this point. I think needs to be. We don't have the meticulous. Well, let me not say that. That's not true. We have a good portion of the Bureau who is meticulous about their investigations. We have a good portion of the agency who is meticulous about their asset collection and how they utilize that information and report it. I think the biggest problem that I see is those folks that are leading the charge that have become politicized, especially in my organization, have become politicized to getting the huge headline.
Hey guys, make sure you hit that link in the description below and go subscribe to my buddy Danny Jones's podcast, Concrete, which is a great podcast if you haven't seen it before. That is where we filmed this episode, and it will be available in its entirety on Monday, November 21st. So if you're watching this after that, go check it out now and enjoy.